So far I've rented 4 different apartments while living in Dubai, and 3 of those apartments were actually from this platform called Blueground, which is essentially like a short to medium term renting platform that's available in many different cities around the world, for example Dubai. And I've talked about them a few times on this channel, but I've never properly reviewed this platform, as in what was actually my experience renting from Blueground. And now that I've also rented with a regular tenancy contract here in Dubai, would I actually recommend Blueground? And most importantly, let's say you're in the position where you're not staying in Dubai for the entire year, like many people don't. Most people, especially entrepreneurs coming to Dubai, actually leave over the summer. Is it actually cheaper for you to rent for short term via Blueground, or to get a normal tenancy contract, what I've done right now, but simply terminate it early or something like that? So that is what we will cover in this video. I'm going to break down all the numbers of how much it's actually going to cost to rent via Blueground versus a normal tenancy contract. My experience with using Blueground, is it actually as smooth and convenient as they will make it out to be? So if you're confused why Blueground is even a solution you might consider, let me just explain that to you briefly. For many people who are coming to Dubai, what they will quickly realize is when you go and rent an apartment, most landlords will want you to sign a full 12-month lease when you're renting an apartment. But many people only stay in Dubai over the winter months, from like October to perhaps around May. So then many people will try things like Airbnb. Well, let me just rent via Airbnb for the 8 months and then go away. But with Airbnb, the costs become super expensive, and it's not really suited for this like longer term renting. Airbnb is mostly optimized for renting like on a weekly or a daily basis, or maybe up to like 1 or 2 months or something like that. And you never really know what you're getting with Airbnb. The quality can be a bit of a hit and miss. So this is really where Blueground is placing themselves. It's for people who want to rent for less than 12 months, but more than 1 month. This sort of renting for part of the year kind of situation that a lot of people are in. And this is exactly why I use Blueground many times before. Now, this video is not sponsored by Blueground by any means, but I do have an affiliate form down below that you can fill if you're looking to rent via Blueground, which will give you $250 off your booking. So if after this video you do want to use Blueground, then you might as well use that form, because you just get money off for actually no extra work. So that form will be listed down below in the description. So before we go into the numbers on whether this actually comes out cheaper or whether it's just overpriced, let me show you how this works here. So essentially you just go to the website at theblueground.com, and then you can choose your city. So there's many cities in North America, you have some in South America, a couple in Europe, and now a few in the Middle East and Asia, including Dubai. So we're going to click Dubai in here. And what's great about this is that you can simply pick your dates from this calendar over here, rather than having to negotiate a contract with a landlord or something like that. All you can do is, let's say I want to stay from November 20th all the way until April 3rd. Then I can search for the available apartments. And the great thing about all these apartments is that they're all managed by Blueground, and they're all fully furnished, and it's all going to be a very similar vibe. As in, when you go into any of these apartments, you always know what you're going to expect, which is in contrast to Airbnb, which is managed by individual hosts, so you don't really always know what you're getting. So here you can see all these different options, and let's say you like this one over here, you can just click on it, and over here then you can play around with the dates that if you want to. And generally the longer you rent for, obviously the cheaper the monthly price is going to be. And then over here it's going to show you the price. So it's going to show the rent per month, the Blueground service fee, as well as all the other fees, which in this case are going to include the Dubai tourism fee, some extra fees, things like this, and it's going to give you this grand total. And what I like about this is that this grand total they show you here is actually all you have to pay. There were 0 hidden fees, at least in my experience, and for a long time I actually assumed that I was overpaying for this a lot because of the convenience and because of the fact that this is a short-term rental. But now that I've actually rented with a regular tenancy contract, where I actually have a break clause, as in I can end the contract early, but there's going to be a penalty of a 1 month's rent if I want to end this current contract early. So I'm just going to have to account for that in my monthly cost. And now that I've seen all the hidden costs, all the utility costs, everything like this, you might actually be surprised at the outcome on what is actually cheaper. So just to show you exactly what I mean, I'm going to compare a completely equivalent place rented with a normal tenancy contract and rented via Blueground. So we have this place right here that is in the exact building where I live right now. That is the same size, 1 bedroom, everything like this. Let's assume we're staying for 7 months from 12th of November until 11th of June. The total rent with VAT, as we can see here, is going to be 14,710.5 dirhams. Whereas for an exactly the same place rented with a regular tenancy contract, it's going to cost, because this is my exact rent, so I know exactly what it's going to cost, 155,000 AED a year, which when you divide it by 12 will come out to 12,916.67 dirhams a month. Now, for both of these rentals, we have an agent fee. In the case of Blueground, it's the Blueground fee that they charge, which in this case, as you can see, is 13,307 dirhams in total. So if we're thinking about this on a monthly basis, we can just divide up this fee, which you would actually pay upfront, by 7 to get the monthly fee, which would come out to 1,901 dirhams per month. And this takes us the total cost of renting this apartment via Blueground for 7 months to 16,611.5 dirhams a month, or a full grand total over the 7 months of 116,280.5 dirhams. And from my experience, on top of this, there are no hidden charges, but there are actually many hidden charges when renting the place with a normal tenancy contract. So let's see where we actually get to. So the first thing you need to consider is that when you rent with an Ajari, which is the normal tenancy contract in the UAE, you're going to have a 5% agent fee. And that 5% is going to be calculated on the total annual value of the contract, obviously, which you're going to pay up front. So even if you end up staying for less than 12 months, as in you end up ending that contract early, the thing to consider is that you're going to have this 5% fee on the total contract value, even if you don't end up using the entire contract. So in my case, that total fee came out to 7,750 dirhams, which, thinking about per month, assuming we're actually going to stay in this place for only 7 months, would come out to a monthly total of 1,107 dirhams a month. So still, we're at a much lower number than the Blueground total. But here where it gets interesting. When you rent the apartment yourself, you're going to have a lot of setup costs that you're going to have to pay up front to set up all your utilities. That's going to include the Ajari fee to register your contract with the Ajari platform, as well as setup fees for your DIWA, your internet, all these kind of things, which for me came out to a total of around 1,015 dirhams, which if we divide that up again monthly over these 7 months that we assume we're going to stay here, that would come out to a monthly total of 145 dirhams. And then we're going to have all of our utilities. So in my apartment, we have to pay for DIWA, which is the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, that basically charges you for your water and electricity, which for me, for the first month of staying here, came out to a total of 185.65 dirhams a month. So not that bad, really. Now, many people are going to have their air conditioning charge included in this DIWA bill, meaning you have what's called a chiller-free apartment. Unfortunately, for me, I don't have a chiller-free apartment, so I have to pay for my air conditioning myself, which for the first month came to a whopping total of 1,085 dirhams a month. Now, this was for the month of October, and this year October was still pretty hot, so I assume this bill is gonna go down drastically as we go to the winter months. But for now, we're leaving this number in here. And then I also had to pay for gas because my apartment has gas. Not every apartment in Dubai is gonna have gas, but for me, it came out to 82 dirhams a month. And on top of this, we had to pay for sewage, which was 17.60 dirhams a month, as well as internet, which for my plan is 279 dirhams a month, which brings my total utility cost to a total of 1,649 dirhams a month. And that is still not everything, because in Dubai, when you rent an apartment with a regular tenancy contract, you have to pay what's called the 5% Dubai municipality tax. So this is a tax that's going to be added to your DIWA bill in this category called like land and housing or something like that. And for me, this comes out to a monthly total of 645 dirhams, 0.83 on a rental contract value of 155,000 a year. And that is still not actually everything, because when you get a normal tenancy contract, like I said, your landlord will usually want you to sign it for 12 months. So if you don't want to stay for the entire 12 months, which many people in Dubai don't, you're going to have an early termination fee, which in most cases is going to be a 1 month's rent penalty, which in my case would come out to that same figure of around 12,916 dirhams, which if we divide that up again by 7, would come out to a monthly total of 1,845 dirhams. So when we add all of these up, the monthly cost of renting this place for only 7 months with a regular tenancy contract actually comes out to 18,309.17 dirhams, which is actually more than the Blueground apartment for a lot more hassle and a lot less convenience and everything like this, because I had to set up everything myself. I've had more issues than I ever had with my Blueground apartment. So the total cost for the entire 7 months will actually for me come out to 128,164 dirhams versus that figure of around 116 or whatever thousand if I had rented the exact equivalent place for the same period of time using Blueground. Now this is always going to depend, and there's other things to consider. Like there's some pros of having a regular tenancy contract for many people. Like for some countries, like I know Canada is one of these countries, it's a good idea for you to have a long-term rental so you can properly show to the government if they audit you or something that you have a long-term place somewhere else. For me, I know that's not an issue. And the other benefit obviously is if you do actually want to stay for the full months and you want to have the stability of keeping your same apartment for multiple years, then of course it's going to be a much better choice to choose a regular tenancy contract. But I just wanted to make this video for the kinds of people who are living this sort of semi-nomadic life where you spend perhaps half the year in Dubai and then you go away, and you don't want to be wasting money on rent on a place that you're not actually staying in for the entire year. Probably actually going to be much easier and at least the same price or even cheaper to use Blueground if this is the lifestyle that you're going for. So again, if you're looking to use Blueground, then I highly recommend you just use my form down below in the description so you can get $250 off your booking. And the real thing about this is not even the money that you save, it's all the hassle that you save. When I rented this apartment, when I signed my first proper tenancy contract, there were so many steps in this process that I was never aware of. It took me so much time to figure everything out. I had an agent that wasn't telling me everything. So if you are actually renting with a regular tenancy contract, then I highly recommend you watch this full guide that I made over here on renting an apartment in Dubai, so you can actually see what the process actually is and what are all the setup fees and everything like this in detail, so you're not surprised like I was. So go watch that video next, and I'll see you in the next one.